Welcome to the Felt Dyslexic Artist Interview. My name is Liz Buckridge. For me, as a dyslexic artist, other artists and creatives have always been my number one inspiration. In these interviews, we talk with artists and creatives who share their stories, and we gain insight into their process, from inspiration to art tips, career building, and more. We're so lucky to listen to the wisdom of Ashley Edes today. I'm so excited to hear about her past and future projects and insights on life as an artist. Hi, Ashley.
Hello.
Thank you for talking with us today.
Absolutely.
Um,
Thanks for coming over.
I'm going to jump right in. So, describe the art you make. What mediums do you primarily work in, and why do you choose that medium?
Well, I work in 3/4 inch plywood and polyester threads, 1 inch finish nails, and sometimes glow in the dark polyester threads. But actually, when I started, I used cotton thread because that's all I had available to me when I was in South Africa. And since then, I switched to polyester because it's actually more lint and UV resistant. And it's actually more forgiving too for when you're actually threading it together. It's a little more, has some bounce to it.
Wow. Do you work in any other mediums?
Right now, no, not really. I would say my whole artsiness was dormant for many, many years. And I just kind of stumbled upon this. And since then, it's just been my niche medium that I like to work in. And I've just kind of taken off and run with
Yeah, I'm kind of obsessed.
it.
How did you get into making art? Can you tell us about your background and how you first became interested?
Well, I think we're all kind of born artists, but this particularly is the fun story. I spent 4 months on a blueberry farm in South Africa during the height of COVID with no Wi-Fi and only three zebras and my partner to talk to. Meanwhile, my partner in that relationship was unraveling at the time, we'll say. So those three zebras is what kind of kept me sane at the time. And again, because of COVID, I was given a very chance opportunity. I ran into someone who I actually met in Newport when I joined the yachting industry, and I found her again in South Africa. Her mom was supposed to come to South Africa from the UK, but because of COVID, all the flights were canceled. So she invited me in her mom's place to take part in a plant ceremony. So I ended up doing the sacred mushroom ceremony. And following that is when I came about this. So I kind of like to consider it my post integrative homework.
Wow. I was just going to ask, how did you get into your specific style? But do you
Well,
know?
I've been, when I first started, I would kind of just scroll the internet a little bit and do primarily sacred geometry based shapes. But now that, I mean, the more I do it and the more I make, the more I learn as I go. So now that I really got my hands in it and I've learned techniques along the way, I kind of have more freedom as to what I know I can create and actually put on and manifest versus like this is not feasible. And now that I have that, I've been incorporating more of the nautical side of myself into my works, kind of just like this one. This is it's a Hawaiian fishhook or a Maori fishhook. I mean, safety at sea and prosperity. But then I turned it into a phoenix. Um, but yeah, that's yeah.
So, what themes or subjects inspire your work?
I would say it's just a culmination of my entire life. um, I spent 7 years in college, 5 years full time, 2 years part time, graduated with a civil engineering degree, never used it, never planned to, and went straight into becoming a professional mariner, a professional sailor. I was actually headhunted for that Bravo show Below Deck, and I was 2 weeks out from filming. They got my security awareness course and everything, but they were worried I wasn't going to get a certain cert in time. because of the size of the vessel. But it all worked out because I ended up staying home and finishing up my captain's license. But I definitely incorporate a lot of the nautical side of myself into my artwork. You can see that I have a lot of the civil engineering side of myself because you have to really plan out what you're going to do. There's a lot of math involved in some of these as well. And then over the course of when I was a yachty, or I'm still a yachty, I got a foot in and a foot out of the industry. Um, I was working on a boat down in St. Martin, and I ended up taking a week to go to Guatemala so I could go meet the chocolate shaman at Lake Atitlan in Guatemala. And yeah, so I did a 1 week retreat there doing that and doing some deep dive work, etc. And ended up becoming a cacao practitioner. So now I like to say that I work with Keys Cacao. So I usually drink that every day, and it's known to be a heart opening medicine. So that definitely influences my artwork as well, and it boosts my creativity, I think.
Wow. Um, do you consider yourself neurodivergent or neurotypical?
Definitely ADHD. Um, it's kind of funny. So I took the test and everything, and I tested to be ADHD, but only after I did 7 years of college. It would have been useful if I had done that beforehand. And now the person I'm with, he is also ADHD, and we actually follow a couple of people on Instagram that will post certain symptoms of what that is and certain behaviors and characteristics, and we're like, wow, that we do that, we do that, we do that. So kind of learning a lot about ourselves through the internet, or at least giving it context and the vocabulary to describe what it is. Um, but I think it kind of also gives me a superpower of hyper focus, because when I start working on one of these, sometimes it can be hard to actually get into starting it, the actual initiation of the project. But then once I'm in it, I don't stop. My partner has to say, like, did you eat yet? He has to feed me.
I love
And
that.
I'm just like, 1 more minute. I'll be there in 5. An hour later.
That's so good.
Mm-hmm.
Have you faced any challenges or setbacks in your art career, and how did you overcome them?
Um, well, I think my art career is so young that it's kind of hard to say that I have experienced any setbacks or such, because like I said, I only started during the height of COVID. And even then, I wasn't working on it with a lot of dedicated time because I was still very much immersed in the yachting industry. So I was constantly working on boats, which meant I'm always at sea and doing this job, doing that job, and it's full on. So I really had to take some time to decide, okay, well, I'm kind of shifting gears. My travel bug is kind of satisfied, and I'm about to start like wanting to do more home life thing and start a family. And after so much travel, you find that, Newport, where I'm from, is really special. And a lot of what I need is just right here at home. And so I'm stepping out of that and coming into spending more time, dedicating more of my time into what my real passion has kind of shifted to. And yeah, doing this artwork really lights me up. And I always say, especially as a cacao practitioner, listen to your body, and what feels good in your body, follow that. And I'm very much, I'd say, a free spirit and always following what feels good. And never forcing the situation. Like if I'm feeling a little icky about this or unsure, like I'd stop and I actually look into, okay, well, what does this mean? Maybe I need to shift gears. Maybe I need to reframe something. What was the original question? Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
I went on a
How did you,
tangent.
no, how did you overcome
Oh,
any
okay.
setbacks?
So, right. So this year, this is a good example. So, I wouldn't say it was a setback within my art career, because it was actually the best opportunity that I've gotten so far, where I had my first fine arts exhibit with Newport Artist Collective, and there. Oh, sorry. How do I turn it off? Here, you know what? I'm just gonna get rid of it. I'll be right back.
Oh, yeah,
Okay. My bad.
that's okay.
So yeah, I had my first fine art exhibit with Newport Artist Collective, and the way I found out about that actually was through Corey Silkin, because he does a lot of photography for a lot of the yachting, and he posted that they were going to do an exhibit. So I was like, oh, I should apply. And next thing I know, I'm in it. So uh, during that time of prepping for my first fine art exhibit, I wanted to make sure that everything was ready, all, T's crossed, I's dotted. But amidst that time, I've actually been going through a lot of stuff between wedding planning and also my father being sick and handling that as a sole lifeline. And then something else happening here at home with the roommate doing something highly inappropriate. So having to kick him out and finding a new roommate. So there was a lot going on in 1 week's time, which was maybe a week or two right before the fine arts exhibit. But I have to say that something I did is stop when things got too overwhelming and realize, like, this is important to me. I need to focus on this. So I'm able to compartmentalize this and choose myself here and be able to focus on this. And which is really hard for me to do this because the whole overwhelming sense of responsibility to help everybody else. But that's something I've been working on, is being able to do for myself first. The whole, you can't help anyone else unless your cup is full first, sort of thing.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Newport. I grew up all over Quinnic Island, actually, and Newport, Middletown, Portsmouth, and I stopped counting my moves after 30, and that was before graduating high school. Yeah, and I've lived with a few different family members: my mom, my grandmother, my great grandmother, and a couple of my aunts. So my whole upbringing was very chaotic, we'll say. Um, but I wouldn't change it for the world, because otherwise I wouldn't be who I am today. So it taught me a lot early on.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Did you do art when you were a little kid?
Oh yeah. I grew up as an only child, and but I was never bored. Maybe it was ADHD, maybe not. But I would always come up with something to do, whether it was building huts or some new tinker projects, or I don't know. I was very imaginative as a kid, and always had my hands into something. Loved building things, which I guess kind of makes sense. um, yeah.
I love that piece. Um, do you have a favorite colorway for your art? Like a color palette? And is the colorway for your art different or the same as the colors in your house?
I wouldn't say I have necessarily any specific color way. I do like very bright and vibrant color schemes. I've had a lot of feedback where people tell me I have a good color sense. And the way I just look at the world, if I see some colors that go together, I just kind of take a mental note, um, and try to apply it to my artwork. But I definitely love a lot of bright, vibrant colors. I've always been kind of that, like, loud person in that sort of sense. And I don't know if it's also part of my Aries nature, feisty, fiery. So even this one, it was one of the first times that I took a white background and tried to add a little, like, smoke or something to the background without having it look too washed out against the white. So this was kind of experimental in itself. But a lot of my pieces, it's against a black background just to help the colors pop, because I love that vibrancy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, describe the space where you make your art.
Well, this is one of them. Depending on where I am in the process, if it's something I could do here and also simultaneously spend time with my partner, then I'll just work up here. And I say we have to put trash TV on, whether it's like going back as far as Rock of Love or something like that with, what was that, Brad Michaels or whatever, the Poison guy. But it can't be anything that's too interesting where it's going to take my attention away. And then my other place is actually down in the basement. That's part of the reason why I actually wanted to rent this place, because as soon as we went down there, I was like, yes, this can be my workshop. So there's kind of the designated workshop area that I never use for making cuts and sanding all the messy stuff. And then basically a whole nother little living room with tapestries and there was a built-in bar down there, but I'll just have some sort of TV going on in the background, or I'll listen to audiobooks or a podcast, or just listen to music. Just something, there's always got to have some sort of white noise, because complete silence is, I got to fill the space with something. Because otherwise I'll get too stuck in my own thoughts and that'll get too distracting. But as I'm working, it's kind of a flow state, or I get into a flow state, and this is very easy to keep going, and it becomes very timeless there.
I get it.
Mm-hmm.
How did your school system support your interest in art growing up?
I would say the majority of my art teachers, they would give the class an assignment with, here's these parameters, but the majority of my art teachers would kind of let me play outside of those a little bit. For example, I remember we had to take charcoal and draw both our hands, but I did a really good job of just doing one hand, and I didn't want to have to incorporate the other one, but they let me just get away with it by drawing like the tip of my thumb. So they kind of gave me free license to do whatever I wanted in my class. So that was kind of nice. Yeah. But aside from that, nothing special. Like I didn't go to art school or anything. Didn't think out this, I had no idea I was going to end up doing this.
How do you see your work evolving or changing in the future? What do you have planned?
Sometimes I lie awake at night with all of these ideas of what I want to do. I've started actually writing some notes or taking a list so I don't completely forget some of these ideas. But now that I'm shifting and spending more time at home and doing my best to not just hop on the next boat and actually dedicate my time into my artwork, I have so many ideas of what I want to do and where I want to take this. And definitely a lot of new designs that aren't just geometric, but incorporates a lot of different imagery in one piece. So I'm excited to finally get that down and work on some larger pieces as well. And I accidentally signed up for 2 fine art festivals I didn't realize were 3 days each. And that's at the, I know, that was at the end, it's going to be at the end of this fall. I think it's the Paradise City, one's in Marlborough and the other one's in Northampton, I think. But that's kind of the gasoline and the fire under my ass, essentially. So I got to get cracking. And that's kind of what I need, because I kind of thrive under pressure. Wow. There's no pressure, then I'm a little too lax about it.
Yeah, I hear you. Is making art an emotional process for you or a strategic process?
I would say it's kind of an escape, actually. There's a few pieces I have in mind where there was just a lot of chaos going on in my life at that time. And coming back and being able to work on a big project consistently took everything else just faded away. And I was just able to focus on that. So it kind of just quieted my brain from all the other thoughts. And I was able to just focus on this one thing rather than everything else and the chaos and a lot of the things outside of my control. and nothing that I could necessarily change. And I just needed to wait and see how it was going to play out. Whereas if I'm just sitting here and working on a piece, it's kind of my solace. So I guess in that sense, it's emotional regulation, I'll say.
Seems strategic too.
Oh, yeah. It depends on the piece, but something like this is one of my more unique designs. This one took about a week in design alone. I really have to plan out where all of the points are going to be, if it's logistically going to work. Um, you don't see it so much here, but the sun piece I have has rays that intersect. And I need to make sure that I'm actually going to be able to get the thread through and it's going to work and there's not going to be a nail in the way. So I'll just I'll take the board that I'm working with and put a whole bunch of grid paper on there and just figure out my design from that, something that I can actually erase. And I started making my own stencils as well, which is extremely helpful. I made the mistake of not doing that the first time, the first fishhook I made, and then someone else wanted another one. And it's like, okay, well, I'm going to have to redesign this entire thing again. But, I learned after the first one and, the second one came out even better.
Yeah. I was just going to ask, can you walk us through your creative process from idea to finished piece? I mean, I think that you kind of answered that, but also this is so complicated.
I would say it depends on the piece. If it's something that's like more of a basic geometric design, something that I haven't done before, that's kind of like a learning curve for me. And that in itself is practice for me, creating that piece. And then once I learn that, I take that and I apply it to something more unique that I create. Um, and everything is done by hands. I didn't learn CAD at URI, so that would have been useful. I have a couple engineer buddies. They laugh at me and they say, "Oh, you're still doing everything the monkey way." I'm like, yeah, well, and I'm only calibrated to one hammer. I have my grandfather's hammer. I never met him, but I've tried using other hammers and it doesn't work out. The nails start going in all wonky. But yeah, so I'll figure out what the design's going to be. I will now draw it on grid paper, and then I actually take my compass or dividers, what you use for chart work, and I'll poke a hole for where each nail is going to be. Then take off all of the grid paper, take off the little piece of plastic that I have underneath that's now my new stencil of that design, hammer all the nails in. And for me, all of this is like the grunt work. And sometimes even during the design process, this is the mistake I made for myself when I designed the first fish hook. I just wanted to get to the threading part because that part's fun for me. I rushed through a section and I still look at it to this day and it irks me. It bugs the shit out of me. But no one else can see it. No one knows. It's just, but I know that it's there. So now I've learned to be patient with the design process, not to rush anything, trust the process. And that way, once I have my finished products, I'm satisfied with it.
Wow. How do you combine the art you love to make and the art you sell?
I would say they're one and the same. But, the more I do, the more I learn. When I started doing craft fairs and markets, I've done 3 winters of that now. The last 2 seasons were primarily full on. The first one was just kind of my first introduction to doing something like that. So for me, that was a big learning curve in itself, just figuring out what to bring to the market, how to set up and everything, and be able to do it within an hour. um, but I just lost my train of thought.
That's okay. How do you combine the art you love to make and the art you sell?
Oh, right. So I I realized, okay, some people like these pieces, so now I want to make more of these. And I sort of fell into this assembly line sort of thing where I created a lot of the same mini pieces that were just like 11 by 11 centimeters. And they came out great and they were great and they're great for the markets. But I realized that I wasn't passionate about creating those. It was work. And if I'm going to be doing this at all, I want to do it because it lights me up. And so I realized, okay, well, this might work for taking it to the market and having inventory to sell, but that's not really why I'm doing this. So let me reel this back and actually work on the pieces that I want to create. Because for me, I think it's extremely important to have that sort of creative energy in alignment with the pieces that you're creating because it directly reflects and people see that whether you realize it or not, or whether they realize it or not, they do see it. They do pick that up. So sometimes I have to kind of stop, check myself, see if this piece or this creative project is in alignment with what I actually want to do, or is there outside influences that's kind of forcing me to do it? In which case, then I just stop the project and move on.
Wow. How do people find your art to purchase?
Um, I still need to create a website. But for now, I have Instagram and Facebook. I have a lot of anything I've ever created is on my Instagram page. Most of it's on my Facebook. If you see something you like, I may have it on hand. Otherwise, I primarily do a lot of custom design work. So if you have an idea or even just a general idea or a color scheme that you like, anything, I set up a consultation call. We have a quick chat and just figure out whatever your parameters are. If you want to just give me full creative license, that's fine too. And just take it from there.
Um, what's the Instagram and Facebook handle?
Ashley, Amazon String Theory. String theory kind of incorporates the civil engineering side of myself and definitely was into the whole physics and all that. And then people always ask me Amazon, like Amazon.com. No, not like that. But I say it's my given name. So many people would just call me Amazon. I'm like, okay, I accept. So it's just kind of one of my nicknames. And at one point when I was down in the Caribbean doing the sailing thing, there were 3 South African American couples, and all 3 women within those couples were named Ashley. So we all went by our last names. There was Big Mama, Cookie, and Amazon.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we'll put that information in the show notes. Can you share a recent project or piece of work that you're particularly happy about?
I'd say this piece.
Yeah, this piece is pretty great.
So this wasn't the original, well, it is the original design, but it wasn't the original color scheme. First, I did a whole bunch of different blues, so it was more like Caribbean water-like with some accents of beige for sand. But again, when I showed it at markets, what did they say? Beauty's within the eye of the beholder. So people who weren't familiar with the Maori tribe or their tattoo culture, they would look at it and see a bird. So I took that idea and decided to run with that and create a fiery phoenix and use a completely different color palette. And it's interesting, again, when I'm creating something, I was really excited to try this one out in a different color scheme. But also during the entire time of in which I was making it, there was, like I said, a lot of chaos going on. And in this past year in itself, I've gone through a series of transitions and a lot of shedding what no longer serves and a lot of growth. So kind of going through my own rebirth and rejuvenation. So it's interesting and extremely reflective on that point in time in my life.
Yeah, it's great. How do you stay motivated as an artist?
Mhm. Mm. I would say, sometimes when you feel the wave of motivation, you've got to ride it for as long as it goes. But something I've also have been learning, and my partner has been helping me learn this as well, is that during those lulls, it's okay to give yourself a rest period. And I'm learning how to embrace those rest periods and not feel like I have to constantly be doing something because we are human beings, not human doers. That was extremely challenging and sometimes still is. Um, but yeah.
Are there any other artists or creatives who have influenced or inspired your work?
um, a lot in the beginning. I would just Google string art just for ideas, and I realized there's not a lot out there, especially not like this. It's so niche. So in that sense, not really. um, I almost feel guilty in saying that because there's a lot of like awesome artists out there, but there's not like a whole lot of string art artists. So I'm just happy that I found something that I vibe with, I guess, that
Yeah,
isn't overly done,
I'm not.
especially in
Yeah,
today's day and age.
I've never seen anything like it. So cool. What advice would you give to an aspiring artist looking to pursue a career in the arts?
I would say do it for the right reasons and make sure you're doing it for yourself, and don't get so attached to your actual final products or how other people view them. Just fall in love with the actual creating process and just know that that's what makes you an artist, is your ability to create, and don't get bogged down by everything else.
Yeah. What is your favorite book, movie, song, podcast?
I'm gonna have to run and grab my phone for this one because I actually wanted to share. I It's a something that I've shared throughout the years multiple times. I've reposted all the time on my Facebook, but it's something that's carried me multiple times, especially when I'm going through a hard time or whatever, or a transition in life. But let me go get it. Sorry, pause one more second.
No, that's all right. I'll have to show you guys what this looks like up close. I'm going to bring it close to the camera when we're done.
Okay, so I actually came across this when I was reading A World of My Own by, who was it? I forgot the name of the sailor, but he was the first one to circumnavigate solo, unsupported, single-handedly. And he had a piece of this in his book, and then I went and I actually looked it up. But it's called The Quitter by, I believe, Robert Service. One sec. Here we go. Okay. Um, when you're lost in the wild and you're scared as a child and death looks you bang in the eye and you're sore as a boil, it's according to Hoyle to cock your revolver and die. But the code of man says, fight all you can, and self-disillusion is barred. And hunger and woe, oh, it's easy to blow. It's the hell serve for breakfast that's hard. You're sick of the game, well, now, that's a shame. You're young and you're brave and you're bright. You've had a raw deal, I know, but don't squeal. Buck up, do your damnedest and fight. It's the plugging away that will win you the day, so don't be a piker, old pard. Just draw on your grit, it's so easy to quit. It's the keeping your chin up that's hard. It's easy to cry that you're beaten and die. It's easy to crawfish and crawl. But to fight and to fight when hope's out of sight, why? That's the best game of them all. And though you come out of each grueling bout all broken and beaten and scarred, just have one more try. It's dead easy to die. It's the keeping on living that's hard. So anytime I have been going through or I go through a hard time, I just kind of, I'll read that or I'll remember that one. And I just like the whole idea of perseverance. And honestly, like my whole background, my whole life has been a lot of that. And you just get used to the cycles of life, I suppose, because there's always going to be ups, there's always going to be downs. Um, my my logo that I put on all my artwork is actually symbolic of that, the whole dichotomy of life. Um, and it's just important to embrace what comes and know that it's just a moment, whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether it just is, that too shall pass. And just embrace what you have in the moment.
Who wrote that?
Robert Service.
Nice. What do you want to talk about that I didn't ask?
I don't know. I'm thinking about it. Do you have any ideas? Do you have any questions?
I'm always really interested in what people, what art you did when you were really little. Like, what do you remember loving doing?
I have a good one.
Okay, good.
My grandmother likes to talk about this all the time. So my grandmother is, she's from Fayal in the Azores. She came over, I say off the boat. She didn't actually take a boat, but she's basically super Porta English. But as to Portuguese culture, when she had her house in Newport down on West Street, she had the living room and she had the parlor. The parlor was basically the living room that nobody was allowed to use. Just like you would have the kitchen you use and the kitchen or the china cabinet where, you know, one day, one dinner party, we're going to use this. Never happened. And she had this chandelier with crystals in the parlor. And I was super young. I don't remember this at all, but they tell me the story all the time where she came home from work one day and she noticed the chandelier was on tilt. And she was like, what's going on with this? So apparently I had gotten up there and I untwisted some of these crystals, and not for any bad reason, but because I wanted to make my mom a Valentine's Day card. And she opens it and she's like, Ashley, where did you get these? From the chandelier.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
That's a fun one.
Handmade gifts.
Mm-hmm.
Well, can I bring this up
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
the camera? Because I want people to see it. It's like really heavy, but I just want you to be able to
Oh, the
see.
depth of it.
Just like,
And that's what's cool too with the polyester threads. Depending on the light that's hitting it, it has a sheen. Really nice.
yeah, it's really, really cool.
Thank you.
I'm obsessed. Well, thank you so much for letting us into your house and your studio today. I felt inspired for sure.
Thank
You're a
you.
very inspirational person, and much love. And we'll see you next time. Thank you for listening. Yay!
Thank you. Thank you. How long was that?